Hey guys, what's going on? So today we are talking about the update that recently hit Almost a Hero. We have a new hero, but to check that out we have to prestige, so we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to prestige, get our myth stones, and then we're going to check out Tam. We're going to go ahead and use a time warp to get a little bit further here. We're going to get Vexx first. Another thing in this update is that we can now have 6-star heroes. I probably won't be able to show you that for a second because I keep getting the skill points here. Okay, here we go. So as you can see, I've already gotten her like artifacts or her equipment to 6-star, but I don't have enough stuff to get her to actual 6-star. My girlfriend, being the nerd she is, did get Vexx to 6-star, so I will ask her if I can borrow her tablet to import the image so you can see what at least Vexx looks like here, as well as like the outline icon, so that's pretty cool. So we're gonna go ahead and get Tam. Again, we don't have his equipment yet, so we can only, wow, green, that's pretty cool. We're just going to try and unlock everything to start off and then check out his skills. Ultimate is what we're going to be looking at first, but yeah, we just have to kind of go through this beginning stages first, and then I'll get back to you guys when it slows down a little bit. We're going to go ahead and max out Tam's ultimate skill and his 2 sub skills as well. And I only have 2 heroes right now, so we can look at Tam, like, pretty much by himself. We have Vexx here just to help get us to a slightly higher level, and since Tam is still like 0-star or whatever, you know, he's not going to be able to do that much. So let's take a minute to talk about his skills. First of all, starting with the ultimate. So stuns all enemies for 5 seconds and increases the damage of heroes by 200% for 20 seconds. But a very long cooldown of 420 seconds. But it is quite good. 5-second stun can really help your heroes stay alive, and a 200% damage increase for 20 seconds is also quite cool. So it doesn't do any damage itself, but it helps your heroes do damage while the enemy is stunned. Might be a good pair for V, because V has a skill, I believe it's in this area, where she does more damage depending on if they're stunned or have some other CC. I think stun is probably one of the only CCs, but whatever. And over here we have Crow Attack. Calls a crow from above to attack enemies to blind them for 13 seconds. Increases their miss chance by 81% with a 150-second cooldown. So that's also pretty good. It is a pretty solid defensive skill when you get up higher and the enemies are doing a lot of damage to you. Each miss will count. And over here we have Flare. It says fires a flare at the enemy area, reducing the defense of all the enemies by 60% for 14 seconds with a 240-second cooldown. So this is definitely more of an offensive skill. It's kind of like basically another damage buff, sort of. Then again, if this is just like a very quick skill where he just fires it to one group of enemies, it really only will be very helpful in the very, very hard stages, because it's a one-time thing. But we will look at his animations after we check out the rest of his skills and see what everything is doing. We're going to be looking at the skills starting from the bottom tree here, so starting with this Frenzy. Crow Attack also increases the attack speed of Tam by 75%. And that goes up by 25% each level for 12 seconds. Alright, so that adds a little bit more offensiveness to the defensive skill. And when he uses Crow Attack, it will also reduce the cooldown of Roar by 8 seconds plus 3 seconds per level. And I guess that is his ultimate, yes? And then here we have it actually doing damage. So that's pretty cool. It'll deal 300% plus 150 per level to all enemies. So when that happens, yeah, that's pretty dope. And then this one reduces the cooldown of Crow Attack by 0.1 seconds plus 0.1 for every attack he does. So if you want to go for, you kind of have to max out all of these skills to make the best out of it, which is kind of how it usually is. Some don't really directly relate to the skill itself, but in this case, they all kind of do, and they would all go really well together. So if you're planning on going for the Crow Attack, I would try and max out all these down here. Now going to the top skill tree. So we already went over what Flare does. It's kind of offensive because it reduces their defense. Looking at Mark, 14% plus 2% per level. Chance with each attack to mark a target. Ring damage on a marked target increases its damage by 110% plus 20% and removes the mark. That is very strange. I don't think I would go for that one at all, just looking at its because it's kind of weird. Maybe if you have like the fire ring or the meteor ring, that green ring, it might be more worth it, but since I'm usually taking lightning ring, I can't imagine it would do that much. Although getting it up to max, the chance probably would be pretty high. 18% at 3, so yeah. And he should be attacking pretty fast if you try and get this skill down here as well. Oh, this one is interesting. First 6 seconds plus 1 second per level of the boss fight, everyone takes 20% plus 5% less damage. That goes up by 1 and 5% respectively. That can be very useful for long pushes when you just like log into the game and you're at the boss and you want to try and get off their actives before everyone dies. That can be very, very helpful there. It doesn't really relate to Flare at all, like all the Crow ones did down here, but it's still a pretty interesting skill nonetheless. And then this is a healing skill. Every 70 seconds minus 2 seconds, a bandage is applied to the most injured ally, healing 30% plus 3% of his max health. So here we got some healing, which is welcome, of course. It depends on what you want to use him for. I would probably use him as a healer actually, because I almost never take healers, or I actually don't take healers at all. But if I were to take Tam, which he does have a interesting set of skills here, I definitely would probably raise this one to max. And then we have Feign Death. When Tam takes damage below 20% health, he gains immunity for 11 seconds plus 1 second, cannot happen more than once every 125 seconds. So this one I probably wouldn't bother with, because if they're doing that much damage, probably everyone's going to be dying anyway. It won't really help just to keep him alive for a few more seconds in most cases. But yeah, you know, it does get pretty powerful after a while. So yeah, those are his skills all around. Again, a very interesting set of skills. We're going to be taking a look at his animations now. First of all, we're going to be doing his ultimate here. Let's check it out. So there that was. It's just a really quick one-time thing. But now Vexx and himself should have 200% increased damage. There's his flare, as you can see. Okay, so that stays there for a while. All right, that's pretty interesting. How long does that stay there for? We're gonna be checking that out. It stays there for quite a long time. I will have to... yeah, so as long as the flare is there, the enemies will have that reduced defense. I kind of thought he would just do like a burst attack sort of thing, and then all the enemies that he hit will have that reduced defense for 14 seconds. But it's really cool to know that as long as the flare is there, they have reduced defense. And now we're just waiting for his crow attack to see how that works. Here it is. Alright, so that is more of a burst attack. It just kind of went in, flew in, and that was the end of it. So even though this says it blinds them for 13 seconds, this really means just the enemies that were attacked and not while the crow's there, because the crow's only there for like a second, only going to attack the current wave. So that's that. Good to know. All around, I think he's pretty solid, pretty interesting. Bringing another healer into the mix I think is always cool. The preparation can be very useful later on in the very hard bosses. And while his ultimate doesn't do any damage, I think it can still be very helpful, because it does help all your other heroes do more damage. So seeing as Crow attack only really attacks once, I can't see it being all that useful until like the very hard stages where you're taking your time killing each and every wave. It might be good for bosses, but I just don't really see the use of it too much because it only attacks once. So for that reason, I probably wouldn't focus too much on the bottom tree. I know it can be useful, and all these others kind of help it be better, but there's just so many skill points to invest here, so I'd probably focus more on the ones up here. Besides Mark, I don't see very much use in that. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it's because I'm using the lightning ring mostly and I just don't really see it being that useful. Because again, when you get higher up, my lightning ring doesn't do much damage at all. So even with 130 or 200% or how much ever it'll be at max, I just can't see it really being that much better. Preparation can be very useful for pushing, and bandage as well, you know, healing. But I don't see too much point in Feign Death either, so I would probably focus on bandage and preparation up here. Flare I think is really good, but it looks like no other skills kind of help that be better. And then after maxing out the ultimate, I would probably start with Crow attack, get that up a bit, and then probably max out Frenzy next, because that gives him a longer lasting boost, up to what, like 15 seconds maybe more, depending on what his equipment gives him bonuses of. I don't know that yet because I don't have any equipment, maybe like one piece or something. So his shells give him Frenzy, yes, which is this. So that's funny. Yeah, so I think Frenzy is very good to match with Crow attack. I mean, the Crow attack by itself isn't really that impressive, but when you look at everything it can do when you upgrade these skills, it does get a lot better. It's just, I'm not sure if it's worth the point investment as a whole, because here it does a ton of damage, but still, it only attacks one time. With this one, he can do it more often. With this one, it reduces the cooldown of his ultimate, and then this increases his attack speed for a good duration. So yeah, I don't think I'd focus on it too early on, but definitely a consideration. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Tam and the update. There were a couple of other things. I believe they raised the caps on some of these mystic artifacts, if I read that right. And of course the 6-star heroes, really looking forward to getting Vexx up to 6-star. But yeah, tell me what you think about the new hero in the comments down below. Also make sure to drop a like if you did enjoy, I would really appreciate it. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.